listening to Season 3, Episode 27. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Shop. My name is Trace and I run a small business called Small Business Collaborative, where I help business owners grow and scale their sales and their businesses. In today's episode, I am speaking with Sophie from Sophie Home and Stand 12. Sophie Home is a home lifestyle brand and Stand 12 is an online trade show marketplace for wholesale. In the episode, I speak with Sophie how she got started, how she sold over 3,000 shower curtains with Sophie Home, which was her first product, how she came up with the idea for Stand 12 and how it's evolved already throughout this year. It only started in January, so it's been a really exciting project. Sophie started Stand 12 because she wanted to find a good way for brands and buyers to connect and buy from each other and do business together. She grew Sophie Home mainly through wholesale, and that's how she felt she built her business, and she wanted to share that and make it easier for other brands to do the same. I think it's wonderful that Sophie is doing this from a very different viewpoint than other platforms out there. So go and have a look on Stand 12. You can apply to be on there if you're a brand owner, and if you're a retailer, you can apply to buy from the brands on there. There's some fabulous brands on there already, so go and have a look. I'll leave the link in the show notes so you can find everything. Before we get into the episode, I just want to say that any platforms, any third-party marketplace platforms or online trade shows are a complement to your efforts already. They should not take away from your sales effort. You need to still stay proactive with your sales and see it as an additional way to reach buyers. For example, for your retail sales, you might sell on Etsy, then you sell on your own website, you might do markets, and you might even be not on the high street. Similarly, for your wholesale, you might be on these on Stand 12, you might do trade shows when they back up and running, and you might do outreach and sell directly to retailers as well. So I think they are a great way for people to connect, and I'm so excited to see how Sophie grows Stand 12. But now let's head straight into my talk with Sophie from Stand 12 and Sophie Home. Hello, Sophie. Thank you so much for coming on Let's Talk Shop.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to speak to someone who is as passionate about wholesale as I am.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit geeky, maybe, that we are like this.
Oh, great. It's exciting, really exciting.
Yeah. I would love for you to introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about both your businesses, and then we'll get more into it later as well.
Okay, cool. Well, as you said, my name is Sophie, and I have an independent business called Sophie Home. So I design and manufacture home textiles, so throws, cushions and nursery accessories. Everything is knitted in 100% cotton, and that business was started about 8 years ago and has grown for me very much through wholesale, which is why it's a sort of topic that interests me and excites me. And also certainly had an influence on the second business, which was launched earlier this year in January, which is Stand 12, which is an online trade fair for independent creative businesses.
Amazing. And how did you come to start Sophie Home first of all then?
Well, it's quite a long story. So I'll give you the potted history on it. But I did my degree in knit at Manchester Met. And then very soon after, I got a job designing men's socks, and I designed for a supplier to the high street, and we supplied Marks and Spencer's among other stores. And then I moved to Marks and Spencer's to head office, and I looked after all the design for men's essentials. So men's essentials is their underpants, socks and pyjamas. And I did that for about 4 years. And it was amazing. I mean, although my degree was fantastic, I would say that I definitely did a lot of my learning through my time at Marks and Spencer's. So I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and I started to get a bit frustrated that we would kind of be, well, initially we did sort of reinvent men's socks and underwear. When I first joined, everything was very navy, very grey, very beige. I injected a whole load of colour and excitement, as much excitement as you can get it. But after a while, each sort of buying meeting just became like Groundhog Day. And I would get very frustrated that the buying teams and the head of buying were just very risk averse. And we would want to, like, as the design team, we would want to bring in new ideas, contemporary product, or just trial something, not place huge orders, but just trial things. And our new ideas were forever getting picked out. And then I think, coupled as well with a few sort of team dynamics that I was struggling with, I just decided to call it a day. Really.
Yeah.
I think I was probably 30 at the time, and I remember thinking that I was sort of too old to be upset, but also too young to be upset and kind of stay in what I was quite an unhappy environment. So I left my job thinking that I would get another one quite easily. But as it turned out, I had really sort of been pigeonholed by doing men's underwear for, I guess by then was about 6 or 7 years. And I couldn't get past any of the recruiters. They wouldn't even let me go for jobs that were men's casual wear or men's shirts. They would just say, no one will look at your CV because it's just underwear. I decided to freelance for a while. And I did some design for, again, High Street, so Primark, Penneys, C&A. But again, I just felt like I was doing the same stuff. Again and again, I wasn't the final decision maker. So what I did was I started to look at all the images that I had taken on my trips abroad with Marks and Spencer's, because we'd go on buying meetings to go and source product and visit the factory. So I had amazing photographs from places like Bangladesh and Vietnam, and just packed with colour and the things that really, really get me excited. And I started putting those together as visual mood boards and colour combinations. And then from that, I developed a range of shower curtains.
Oh, that's random. Just why shower curtains?
It's a really good question, Therese. Well, I think the way that, because one of the things, what I'm really excited by when it comes to colour actually is man-made colour. I know a lot of designers, really get inspired by nature. And natural colour. I really enjoy man-made. So like in Italy, where I saw 3 different coloured wheelie bins next to a post box, and they were like blue, yellow, pink, and the post box was red. For me, like, that's a photo to be taken. That's super exciting. So because a lot of the colours were sort of man-made synthetic, I think they just kind of lent themselves to these shower curtain designs. It just kind of fell into place quite naturally. And then I was also quite convinced that the world of shower curtains needed an overhaul.
Well, yeah, they're pretty boring sometimes.
They certainly they can be. So Sophie Home, actually the very first beginnings were for shower curtains.
And how did that go? Like, what did you do then? You designed these shower curtains. Where did you sell them? How did you sell them?
So because I had sort of done all my learning, if you like, at Marks and Spencer's, all I really knew when it came to making a product was that you do it on a big scale abroad. So it never really occurred to me that I might create a product that I might be able to make myself and at home. So I did some research online to find somebody who could make these shower curtains, and then decided that actually that was not cool. I really wanted to meet the people that were going to be doing it. So I went over to Heim Textile in Germany, which is a huge home textile manufacturing fair. And I met with the manufacturer who I had been in touch with online. Now, because they were based in China, they had huge minimums. And they wanted 1,000 pieces per design. And I managed to negotiate them down to 800 pieces. But that still meant 3,200 shower curtains, which is a lot. So I think 80 boxes of shower curtains in
Yeah.
a yellow storage unit. I had a whole bucket load of optimism and positivity that these were just going to fly, that everybody would want my shower curtains, that they would fly on my website, that they would fly on Etsy, on...
And people would magically find you.
And that, absolutely, exactly that. The reality was that it took me 5 years to sell them, which is a very long time. And the best bit of it all is that after I sold the last one, I realised that I hadn't kept one for ourselves, and we needed.
Oh no!
Yes, so that's how it started. But whilst I was at Home Textile, being the shower curtain supplier, I also met 3 other manufacturers, one of whom is still my manufacturer now for what people who know my brand now or would look at it now would know as Sophie Home, which is 100% cotton knit product. No shower curtains, no quilts, no mohair blankets. It's just this knitted cotton product that I do.
Oh, that's amazing. So it's nice that you've been able to keep that relationship going.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I was when I met them, I was actually sort of in the last 2 or 3 hours, before I had to go and get my flight, and I just walked around the corner and I saw this stand, and it was quite a small stand, but the product was just really exciting to me. They had these throws hung up and the colours were great and they were absolutely lovely. And the factory is owned by brothers, Suraj and Sahil. And they're about the same age as me. So we've kind of been growing our businesses at the same time as well.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, really nice. And they've become really, really good friends. I'm really fond of them. If they're ever in the UK, they come over for dinner. So yeah, it's fab. And I wouldn't want to work with anybody else, really. They drive me mad sometimes, but...
Of course, every factory will.
Yeah.
I think equally you probably drive them mad sometimes.
Oh, completely. And, they're so... So when I first met them, most factories, they want really high minimum order quantities. They really do. A lot of them are asking you for 300, 500 pieces per design. And I spoke to these guys and I said that I was just setting up. They were quite hungover, actually, which I always wonder if, and I always say to them, I think this might have really helped my case. That they were willing just to sort of give in, but they said, yeah, you know what, we'll do 50 pieces per design.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I just think they were like, well, yeah, you know what, we'll take a punt, because if you grow, then you're going to grow with us.
Yeah,
which is exactly what has happened, and now I can fulfill their minimum order quantities, and hopefully, they're only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, I'm really grateful that they took a punt on me, because it's worked out nicely.
that's lovely. But going back to these shower curtains, where did you sell the 3,000 plus shower curtains?
Oh my word. Well, when I realised that people weren't just going to find me online, I started doing markets. And so I went off to Greenwich Market, was my first. And then I had a regular spot at the Backyard Market down on Brick Lane, if anybody knows and remembers that. And I used to sell a lot, actually. Once people saw them and got their hands on them, they would sell quite a lot. But, I had to discount them. They started off, I think I wanted to sell them for 15. And then at the markets, I would have to sell like 2 for 12, or on a really quiet day, 2 for 10. So I had to get really flexible with my pricing. And, I set up my whole business really thinking, if everything goes wrong and people don't want to buy my product, do I think I can sell them at cost price just to shift them?
Yeah.
So as far as I was concerned, £5 wasn't the best margin ever, but at least they were moving. I just needed to get out of that big yellow and get rid of them all. So, but obviously they still weren't shifting at a speed fast enough for me to be able to get rid of them all. So that's why I signed up to do Top Draw, which was my first trade fair, I guess back in January 2015, something like that. Yeah, and that's where I found my first stockists and managed to shift a whole load more shower curtains.
Amazing. That is great. Do you remember who your first stockist was?
My very first stockist was I think it was a Autour du Monde, which is a shop in Paris.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and a really, really beautiful shop. And then Search and Rescue in Stoke Newington. I think they came along afterwards. And also Unlimited. Sarah from Unlimited down in Brighton was one of my very first stockists as well.
Oh.
So, yeah, I've had some really wonderful stockists from the off. I've been very, very lucky.
That's amazing. So you got your first stockist and then you've just grown from there onwards, or how has it been?
Yeah, when I did my very first trade fair, I was really disappointed with the result.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, it didn't match up to my expectations as well, and I went with so many expectations. I think like so many people, I went with these big ideas. I had my dad helping me set up. Like you're so sort of excited for it. And then the guy next to me, I remember him saying, so, are you here just to make leads, or are you here to make all your money for the year? And so I was like, oh, wow, could this actually happen? Like, could I make all my money for the year? And then, and as it happened, I think in the interests of being really transparent, I think I took £3,000 worth of orders on the stand, and I was completely crushed. And I remember going for dinner with a friend afterwards and just being like, what am I going to do? Actually, it was my accountant who said, it's the only good bit of advice they ever gave me. He's not my accountant anymore. He said, you know what, though, Sophie, it will come in over the course of the rest of the year. You'll see it. You can't expect it to all happen at the trade fair. And it did. By the end of the trade fair, I had 6 stockists, and I think at least 4 of those placed repeat orders throughout the rest of the year. And one of them in particular, Aria, up in North London, which is a beautiful home interiors store, they've also stocked with me from the beginning, and they would place big orders, every 2 or 3 months. Yeah. So it'd really keep the business ticking over. So, it's definitely... It's the long game, and you have to make yourself visible, whether that is going to trade fairs or whether it is reaching out. Yeah, and also, actually, this was all launched pre-Instagram.
Yeah, of course. But I think that's probably good, because I think, yes, Instagram can be a good tool, and I think use it, but don't post on Instagram thinking that's going to bring you all your business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You had to work for it, right?
Yeah.
We should still work for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you really have to. You can't rely on it at all, and not even for your retail sales either. I mean, I think that having my work in shops, that is what's really driven my retail sales. And people have found my website because they see my product in shops, and then that gives my brand credibility, or they don't want to buy it there and then, or they want to support a small business, so having my product in shops, for me, that's always been the best form of marketing, and paid marketing as well, so it's just terrific. So yeah, I think that first trade fair and then the lessons that I learned from that and afterwards have been absolutely key to understanding how my business has grown and how it can grow and what I need to do to maintain that.
How would you, knowing what you know now, how would you have gone to that trade show? What would you have changed?
Well, I wouldn't have rocked up with an IKEA sofa to assemble. I wouldn't have done that, but I thought, well, how else am I going to display cushions? So I had my poor dad building a sofa, and then of course at the end of the trade fair I'd had to somehow get it home again.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that would be my number one tip, would be, you don't need to go too big. You can have a lovely simple display, really let your product do the talking. It doesn't have to be all bells and whistles. And you will go to a trade fair and you're going to see huge established brands, like,
oh yeah,
why do names always disappear as soon as
Coach House, for example?
Yeah, right, there we go. They're going to have a beautiful stand that a bunch of professionals will have built for them. They're going to have props everywhere, and that's how they do it. But the independents, no, you know what, you can be there with a set of shelves or some hooks or a trestle table. Keep it simple. If you can avoid it, don't paint your stand, because you're either going to have to, well, yeah, actually, no, that's not true. You should paint it probably.
I like painting my stand, but
Don't paint it black. Yeah,
or like, factor in, budget in that you don't have to paint it back, like that you actually just pay for it.
yes, that's the advice. Yeah, pay someone else to paint it back at the end, because if you paint your stand black and then you have to return it to white after an exhausting trade fair, when they turn all the aircon off the minute the door's shut, you don't want to be there.
And the heat, the big shutters open. It doesn't matter if it's January.
Oh my goodness, totally. And then all the forklifts come in with all the pallets and the cling wrap, and people that were your friends for the last 3 days would step over you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I I still have paint on a dress on mine. There was one guy who painted his stand that we knew, and he had to paint it back to white, but like his colleagues had left, so we felt bad, so we all helped him.
Oh.
And it was like, I still have paint on that dress.
But you know what? You can't beat the camaraderie of a trade fair.
Yeah.
I said to someone recently, like, at a trade fair, you catch up on a lifetime with strangers. It's cool. It is lovely. It's great for the network.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing all of this has accumulated into Stand 12. And tell us more about how that started.
Well, so my husband actually had started a new job, and he'd been given a book called Mission, which they give all new employees. So my husband works for a company that invests in small businesses.
Cool.
Yeah, the Business Growth Fund. Unfortunately, they don't invest in small businesses of my size. They invest in bigger small businesses.
Oh.
But he gave me this book to read, and I couldn't put it down. I've read it 2 or 3 times now. And it is a business book, but it's really kind of accessible. And it talks about how the most successful businesses now are businesses that have a mission, and that mission is to want to improve people's lives. So make people's lives easier, really, as much as anything. And they run through a few like huge names like Uber, is there to make getting home from a night out easier for people. Airbnb is there to make travel and finding accommodation easier for people. So I was really inspired by this book, and it suddenly kind of occurred to me that what was missing was a way to make wholesale easier and more accessible for startups. Because as much as I really do love trade fairs, and Stand 12 has never been to replace them. It's always been to sort of sit alongside them and be another option. They do cost at least £3,500, and we're really not guaranteed to make any money back. And I think for a lot of small businesses as well, they're just simply intimidating. The thought of doing it and the thought of putting that much money down stops them from doing them, which in turn is stopping them from being able to even have a chance at being seen and growing their business. Because I honestly don't think that I would have built my business without wholesale. So so that was the idea, an online trade fair. And I ran downstairs to my husband about 11 o'clock at night and was like, I've had this amazing idea. I have to do it. And it'll be dead easy. Don't worry. It'll be really simple. And whether he believed the second part, that it would be dead easy and very simple, I don't know. But he thought, it was a good idea. So I started to do a bit of research. At the time, interestingly, I couldn't find anything similar. And it wasn't until I was really, really knee deep in building the platform that a few other names did pop up.
They kind of come up quite recently, haven't they?
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, at least here in Europe.
Yes. I think there's a huge one called Fair, and I think that's really quite established in America. So, a few other names of trade fairs popped up. And my first sort of feeling was a bit of a sinking feeling that, maybe we were massively on the back foot. But equally, I'd gone so far with it, I still wanted to do it. And also I had quite a clear idea of how the platform would look and how it would work. And actually, it was a real blessing that I hadn't discovered those other platforms at the time, because I haven't been swayed by how they do things. And the platform has been very much set up based on my experience, both as a wholesaler and also as a buyer, because we do seasonal pop-ups in our forum. in our house. And
Oh,
yeah, so I'd been at trade fairs sort of on the other side as well. So all of that experience informed Stand 12 and what it looks like now.
amazing. And what would you say has been the biggest challenge with getting it going?
Well, we've had to be very reactive. When I say we, it's me, but I do have two lovely ladies who contribute and help and are an amazing support
Yeah.
me doing this as well. So Keisha, who does all of our blog posts, and Jess, who helps with all the onboarding, and I can give her a spreadsheet that I think is fantastic because it's all color coded, but actually it does nothing, and she can turn it into something that really functions.
Yeah.
So they work with me. But when it was first set up, it was a directory. And the idea was that it would cost £360 a year to be on it, less than 1 square metre at a trade fair. And then retailers would be able to contact you as a wholesaler, and you would build a relationship just like you might as a trade fair, but online. It sort of became obvious in the first 2 or 3 months that people weren't really biting. And so I spoke to my existing wholesalers, the people who had signed up to be on it when it first started. And it was very obvious that actually what they all wanted was to not have to pay anything to be on it, but to give away commission on any sales that they did take. So whilst I had in my head, this wonderful directory, and we'd have a magazine that would go out twice a year, it'd all be quite creative and that kind of side of things, we had to transform it into a fully working e-com site that would support infinite number of wholesalers, that would be, so you'd be able to see the front end. Anybody would be able to see all the product on the site, but only if you were logged in would you be able to see prices.
Yeah.
It also has to manage multiple orders at the same time. Not all the wholesalers are UK based, so we've got lots of different countries and lots of different VAT systems and tax systems. And then you are building this whole website as well, whilst you're wearing literally 3 different shoes. So you are building it as the retailer, so the user experience, also as the wholesaler, but also as admin as well, who's looking after the site. So moving the site from directory to e-com was huge. But again, I've been phenomenally lucky. I've been working with a guy called Martin from Rockhopper, and I really do want to give him a mention because I think he might be the most patient man ever. He has been amazing. I have never heard him say no to anything that we have suggested or asked. His answer is always, I will look into that. And he's
amazing.
That we've needed to. So yeah, big up Martin.
So you then had this whole, new to-do list, I suppose, with 1 million things on it, but you managed to get it done and now you are up and running. When did that happen? Since when were you up and running again with this platform?
So January it launched as a directory. So I spent all of Christmas doing that. And then we went a little bit quiet over sort of April, May, June, whilst we made the switch to e-com, because we couldn't recruit people at that stage. I couldn't invite people to shop from it or people to wholesale because we needed to be really clear on what we were offering people with the website. So then that relaunched as a fully functioning e-com site on the 1st of July this year.
Oh, so not very long at all. So how's it gone? What has happened since?
Well, it's been amazing. Actually, it's been brilliant. So we get retailers applying to shop from it every single day, and I think, I haven't checked the numbers, but last week it was 40% of those that had registered had actually placed an order.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And how are they finding you?
So we send out a weekly newsletter, and that goes to about 800 UK and European retailers, and then Instagram, word of mouth. Some of our wholesalers are telling their stockists, and they're finding us that way as well. And we're about to do a much bigger marketing drive. We're about to send out a postcard to the shop floors of every independent UK retailer in the UK, just to let them know that we exist. That, whilst other trade fairs are closed, we're open. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. But yeah, for the first month, I'm really pleased. I think that at least a dozen of our wholesalers have received orders.
That's amazing. And do you find that your Sophie Home stockists place orders through there as well? Or?
Yes, they do, which is just phenomenal as well, because it just, it is a small industry, but it is so supportive. And so it's been amazing to see my stockists, who were among some of the first to order on the site, just to trust it. And actually, with the first couple of orders, we did screw up the VAT. And it was, how lucky to be able to speak to two retailers, so many people.
Yeah, so many terms.
Working with for so long to say, look, we made this mistake, we need to amend it. And they were like, yep, totally, that's fine. So yeah, I feel really fortunate that our mistakes were able to be made with people that we really know and trust. But yeah, lots of retailers, that I've never heard of have come on board as well. And they're also super excited by it and enjoy shopping on it. So
that's amazing. So I think that all these platforms are very interesting, and I think certainly it will help lots of brands, both independent shop owners and brand owners. I think that my first reaction to all when I first heard of them is like, yes, they're brilliant, but what I wanted to say to brand owners is like, you should still be building relationship with your buyers. So how does that work? What do you think that buyers that buy from your platform, do you think they still want that personal relationship with the brand owners? Because as some of the shop owners I've had on the podcast, they sort of gone, yeah, but I still want to have that relationship. And I say, well, you can have both.
Yeah.
What's your thought of what have you heard?
Well, I guess I guess now that they're shopping from stand 12, so it's really important that I maintain that personal relationship with them. So that's sort of on me to make sure that the shopping with us is a really great experience and they like it and they do feel like they've had some kind of personal contact or like a good user experience. But when a retailer places an order, their address, their email address, their phone number is all there for our wholesalers to be able to see. And they are very welcome to pop them an email if they need to advise them that something's out of stock or something that is going to take a bit longer. That's all on them for them to do. So they can make contact and they can be in touch with them, and they can pop in their handwritten postcard and the rest of it. So whilst it's all on trust as well. So whilst we don't expect wholesalers and retailers to meet on stand 12 and then do business outside of the site, I have absolutely no issue with them following each other on Instagram, supporting each other. Like, when I say no issue, like, we want them to be doing that so they still would have had that experience. But I also think, with COVID and so much going online, I also think that this is kind of a new way of working and people have adapted very quickly to that. And when trade fairs can run again, then they'll be able to be meeting people in person. But they seem to have adapted and sort of accepted very quickly that how we do business is just going to be a bit different for the moment.
Yeah, it is. And I suppose it can save a lot of people a lot of time. It's just that I guess we never want to lose that personal touch of things.
Totally.
Say a brand that is on your side launch a new and exciting product that maybe need a little bit more hand-holding to understand if it's completely innovative or something.
Yeah.
The fact that they have a relationship with the buyers is going to be super important, even though the actual orders come through stand 12.
And I think that Instagram does really help with that.
Yeah.
That is their platform to kind of be a little bit more social and a little bit more kind of light, I guess. Instagram's really helped with that. It's kind of taken away the fear of the stockist. that it's there to say, oh, I love your shop and that looks great, and all the rest of it. So yeah, I totally agree. But until the trade fairs are back, this is a good option, really.
I think even when the trade shows are back, I don't see like one thing excluding the other either.
Right. And, when I had the idea for Stand 12, and even when we launched in January, like the term social distancing, we'd not heard it. It wasn't part of our vocabulary. So it was, always set up to be alongside trade fairs, to be an additional option. And, when things first started to really sort of unfold in the UK with COVID, and we were all started to become aware of how really devastating it was going to be for people and for business, for everything. And my web developer was saying, Sophie, you've got to get on this, and you've got to start promoting the platform. And I just couldn't, because it really felt like using something terrible to promote the business. But as things have changed and evolved, it's just become so clear that this kind of platform is utterly relevant for now, and we could never have foreseen it happening. And I think it's really going to help the platform establish, so that when things do get back to normal and we've got the trade fairs, that wholesalers know that they have both. If they want to take a bit of time out from trade fairs because they don't have the budget, or maybe they're starting a family, they can still have a presence on the website. If a retailer can't travel because they don't have the budget, or they don't have someone to cover the shop, there's still the website, and they can still dip in 365 days of the year. But we can all still enjoy the thrill of being at a trade fair as well.
One of my thinkings is that these kind of new sites, like they will carve out a way, like it will change the industry a bit. Like I can kind of see, I don't know, this is not a well thought through thought, but the amazing things with physical event and physical trade shows is that it's a journey of discovery in a different way than online. So, you walk up and down the aisles, you see something, maybe you don't stock candles, but actually seeing some lovely candles make you think, oh, could I stock candles? You would have never gone on a site, looked in the candle category, say, but because you're at a trade show, it challenges you to see, actually, they could fit in there, and I can merchandise it like this. Or, it can inspire you and give you ideas for new product categories in a different way than online. So, like, maybe, trade shows, I think, will still be there for relationship building, especially distributors and agents and, meeting people in real life, but maybe they become more of a journey of discovery for new things and, work on your relationship. And then these platforms is more like the everyday solution, like a tool for your business almost.
I think so. So that if you've got an empty shelf, and you need to fill it quickly, within moments, you can pop on the website and you can have an order and know that it's coming without having to wait for a trade fair. But I do think as well, it's so important for us that we're sending out the newsletter every week as well.
Yeah, that could be a discovery, right?
Exactly. And what we do is so for example, this week's was shop modern jewellery, shop contemporary art, and then focus on one of our wholesalers, Rosie Feist. So I'm well aware that email is going to a shop that maybe just does cushions, for example. But then maybe they'll be like, you know what, some prints on the wall would be good. So I think that's how we sort of tackle that side of things. And the other thing is that absolutely, you're going to be inspired by product you weren't looking for at a trade fair, but you're also missing out on all the brand new fledgling businesses that can't afford to be there.
Yeah.
And you're going to find actually the most new, the most exciting product potentially on these platforms as well, things that you might never have seen, or businesses that might never have established themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I heard. And I think one of the things that I would absolutely love would be to see a new business join Stand 12 and grow their wholesale, their business and their confidence enough to actually go and do a trade fair. So they're all really kind of working together, and it is all about helping businesses grow. both wholesale.
Well, this is the ultimate goal with like what both of us do, I suppose,
Yep.
in a way. You know, it's all about selling more, growing your business,
Yep.
growing your brand awareness, growing your sales.
Totally. And it's a fun journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's tears, but it is fun.
It is. It is. It's a challenge, I'm sure, but it is. You must have learned so much different things about the industry doing this.
Oh, totally. And, loads of learning from mistakes as well. And actually, setting up Stand 12 has been very interesting because obviously there's now the input from a whole load of other wholesalers as well, who are saying to me, Sophie, does your website do this and does it do that? So, for example, I've had 2 wholesalers this week saying, can we have packing slips on the website? So that's where you download the order but without the prices, so it's like entry that you know that.
I mean, that would be helpful, right? Because often, like, if you're a small business and you just use, say, some of the accountancy softwares, they don't do it.
Yes, they don't do it right, and you want to put it in your box so that your retailer can check it off.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really naughty, and with my business, Sophie Home, I don't do that. Which is really bad practice, and I don't advise it, and I need to sort that out. So it never occurred to me to have that as a function on the website. But now I've had these 2 wholesalers come on and say we need it. We've put it straight away as a priority to get that onto the site so that they have that, because that is best practice. And it made me think, I should really be doing that for Sophie Home as well.
But it has 2 purposes, right? It also means that they use it as packing in their facility, whatever way they pack orders.
Yeah, absolutely. It just keeps everything
like a pick sheet. Yeah, that's so interesting. And like, how do you manage your sales for Sophie Home now? Because that you're obviously running it alongside of this, and this must take a lot of time. So how do you manage both?
I'm not sure. Necessity. I try to be quite disciplined, but the reality is that I'm always hopping from one business to the other. And even, this is awful, Trace, but even from one computer to the other, because my Sophie Home inbox isn't currently working on one of my computers. So I have to go and use the other one, which is, ridiculous. So it is a bit chaotic, and obviously it's been nuts for the last few months as well, trying to do all of this with 2 small children at home as well. So
of course,
it has been totally mad. So just trying to be disciplined and sort out, all of my orders in the morning. I like to pack my orders in the evening so that I know that they're sitting by the front door for the courier to come and collect. And folders, I have endless see-through folders with labels telling me what's in them, and lots of about 6 notebooks on the go, post-it. I'm not sure that I do manage them, but somehow it all works.
So you ship all your orders for Sophie Home from home?
Yeah, we do. So we just had all the new stock arrive. So that was 60 boxes. That was 1/2 ton shipment. My husband conveniently had just had surgery, so he couldn't help. So they all had to be unloaded off the lorry onto the drive. Then they move into the hall. Then they move into the garden, and then they're unpacked into a log cabin, which we have at the bottom of the garden. And then, I pack and wrap every order and pop the handwritten note in, and then lovely Steve from DHL comes and collects them, and then I leave.
And then you could work a little bit on Stand 12.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit manic, but it's fun.
How do you feel about trade shows not happening this autumn?
Really disappointed, actually. I think that it's the right decision, but it is so crushing for so many businesses, because wholesale is just such a massive chunk of people's business. And for manufacturers as well, this is really, really terrible news for them, because they rely so much on us selling our big wholesale orders for them to be able to then manufacture for us. So I think it's the right decision, but it definitely is really sad to see an industry hit so hard. And even it doesn't stop there either, does it? Because all of the caterers that work at the trade fairs,
Yeah.
all of the guys who their job is to build stands.
Yeah, the electricians, the stand builders, the contractors, the
Right.
guys that paint our stand when we don't want to do it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. All
The
this
coffee shop people, like all of them.
totally and utterly. So although there not being trade fairs is undeniably is good for my business and similar online trade fairs, I do not want to see trade fairs go because they provide so much work and industry and revenue at so many different layers.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they're crucial, for the relationships and for the networking and all of that. So
I 100% agree. I love trade shows, even though they're exhausting, and I really believe they serve their purpose. But I do think that somehow they have been, they do need a little bit of a shake-up as well, because prices just keep going up and footfall keep going down. There needs to be something. Like, I think there's still an opportunity here to maybe shake it up a little bit for next year, or maybe the year after.
So, and obviously, I don't know what their overheads are.
No, I don't know either.
And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do think they're a bit greedy. I don't know if they need to charge as much as they do. They just seem unbelievably expensive for what they are. And like if you have been at trade fairs for setup and breakdown, and there's so much work goes into it. It is absolutely huge, and that the next day it's all starting again for the next fair.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not be another product fair. It might be a boat fair, or motorbikes or camping or something like that. But they're happening all the time, and I wonder if there could just be more subsidising for startups, just to help people get started.
Yeah, I think that, if your startup actually, as it's been in the last few years, it's more affordable for you to do a show abroad and apply for a grant through DTI than it is to do a UK-based show.
Which is nuts, isn't it? If we want to,
because you could get a grant, but yeah.
Yeah, but they're hard to come by, and again, it's kind of secretive. And I know that you're on a terrific mission as well to sort of bust all the secrecy and all the myths out of wholesale and to make it more accessible to people. And I think that that's what the trade fairs haven't yet really done any work on, actually, is making their platform really accessible and encouraging to new.
I think they're also a bit greedy, like you said, in the sense where they book on new brands, but there's no, and I think that they're missing a trick. And I actually for years, I have gone on and on about this to whatever sales show organizer salesperson that will listen to me, is the fact that, they book on these new brands, they charge them $2,000 or whatever it is, which is a huge amount of money, but they don't qualify them. They do not check that they're ready to wholesale.
Yeah.
And then this is really bad for the buyers. And this is how I started on this journey, I guess, is because then buyers are really scared of placing orders with new brands the first show. So you have brands that will only place an order if they've seen a brand 3 times at a show. That is $6,000 before you get an order.
Yeah, right. And that's not, counting your travel expenses, your hotel expenses if you come from abroad, setting up your stand and all of that. And I've heard that so many times, particularly with the fairs abroad, you have to be seen 3 times. But equally, a retailer might see you the first time, but miss you the other 2 times.
Yeah.
One of my huge bugbears at trade.
You move your stand, you're not in spotted anymore, or whatever it is. I think that the show organizers, there must be something there, that could be done as an industry. I don't know if it's show organizers, if it is with the associations that are out there, but something, where.
Or if it were mentors. Like, people like you who they had as the go-to for anybody new, right, before you do this, you're going to speak to Therese, we're going to make sure that you are ready and comfortable. Because when you do that first trade fair and you get all the pack through about how it's all work, it's really intimidating.
Yeah, but you focus on those. You don't focus on selling or how you're going to sell and make your return. You focus on your health and safety and your risk assessment and how your stand is going to look pretty.
Absolutely. And
But you forget about the actual reason why you're doing it.
so true. So true. So much time worrying about how you
Yeah.
can manage in a 20-minute slot getting your car in and out.
Yeah. And I don't blame anyone for that because I would, it is overwhelming and it's really tricky. So I can't, it's not me judging anyone. It's just there must be a better way.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Just like a real team of go-to people who are there just to answer every question, no matter how silly it seems.
Yeah.
Because, I
But it would be amazing if Top Drawer had like a team of mentors that they hired for an hour every week, and there's an open Q&A for I don't know. This is just an example. I just know that if the people I work with before they do a trade show generally sell more on their first show than people that have not looked over their pricing, their sales material, and are actually prepared to sell.
Yeah, totally. And you need someone to sort of teach you the language as well.
Yeah, and it makes such a difference, right?
That's the difference. So because often buyers, they speak really quickly, don't they?
And they throw terms around. They love terms of, and you're not quite sure of what they actually mean. And in the beginning, you don't have the confidence to ask them, like, what does seller return mean to you?
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be.
So when they say, do you have an MOQ? And you go, yep.
Yeah.
But what is it? Very good.
No, I just think that there's a lot of trust there from having that kind of like a little bit of knowledge before you do it.
Yeah.
Of course, this year, that's not going to be an issue because I don't know, it's like we all had a bit of a reset, a little bit of rethink now in whatever we're doing in life, I suppose. Maybe if shows do the same, it'd be interesting to see if something comes out of it.
Yeah, you're totally right. They need a shake-up. Footfall is definitely down and it doesn't really feel like they're doing terribly much about it. One of the last shows that I did in London, the guy who'd sort of done all the organising came round and footfall was dreadful. It was really, really quiet. And he came along and said, how's it been? And I said, well, it's been very quiet. And he said, oh, it's not what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that is...
You just stop lying to me.
No, absolutely. Let's be honest about this and let's figure out what we can do to change this. And I've been surprised as well that more of them haven't gone online.
Yeah, and I think that they haven't done it very well when they have. This is a problem too, I don't think, I can discuss this, for forever, but let's hope that other kind of like market challenges, like different platforms, different ways of doing things will challenge trade shows to shake it up a little bit, come up with a few new things that would work and benefit everyone involved. Of course, we all have to make money from it, right?
Totally. COVID has seen so many amazingly inventive ideas and blown away at the beginning by people who, like, day 3 into lockdown, like the artist support pledge. They just came out of nowhere and just exploded. And you're just like, that's such an amazing brain that just came up with that and put that out there. And there were so many people that were thinking outside the box and doing things differently for their business. And, small businesses, I guess they can just be so much more reactive, can't they? They have freedom to do that. And it's so exciting.
And so amazing to hear those stories and see those.
Completely.
Yeah. So what do you think? Are you optimistic? So of course you're disappointed about the trade shows, but how are you feeling about your two businesses for this autumn and this kind of, I guess September when it all kicks off fully again?
Yeah, I do feel optimistic, actually. I think that, so for Sophie Home, I do feel optimistic. I've got some really lovely stockists who have reordered the new collection, so existing stockists. And I've also had a lot of new stockists get in contact with me. So, they must be finding me either in other shops, websites, or on Instagram. So there feels like there's a lot of buzz. There's lots of activity. Yesterday, I spent the morning pitching to retailers and had a couple call back straight away, which was fantastic.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, really good.
What do you do for that?
What do? I just send out a little email with a link to my catalogue, which I create on Flipsnack. So it's like a digital book. And I also, I pop my phone number actually on it always, because I find, particularly at the moment, retailers want to pick up the phone and have a conversation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, especially the ones that have been around and been doing business for quite some time, they definitely value a conversation with people. I'm sure the newer guys does too, but I maybe it's just me and a feeling, but I think that there's a certain, I guess it's scary sometimes to be on the phone in the beginning.
Yeah.
But the ones that have been around for a long time, they've absolutely value that one-to-one contact.
Oh, definitely. And, you can sort out something in 2 or 3 minutes that would take maybe 6 emails over 3 days.
Yeah.
It's really
so much easier.
Yeah, and I didn't used to put my phone number on. I'm afraid I used to wimp out of that, but I do it. I do it now. So, I feel like that the wholesaler-retailer relationships are going to get more personal and closer. And because I think there's a real kind of unity and an understanding that we really need to support each other. And, I'm seeing lots of brands, myself included, who are profiling all of their stockists, which actually was something that I kind of didn't do before, because I kind of felt like it was how do I explain this? Sort of their business to do it, that they might not want me saying, I'm in this shop, that they might want to present it in a certain way. But actually, I think they do want to be shouted out. And
they want the support.
They do, definitely. So I really feel that. So I think it's a very, very, very supportive environment to do business at the moment. And, retailers as well have been so patient and are still really patient, with delays and not answering emails because there are 2 small boys to feed and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's been phenomenal.
But I'm glad you still are proactive, even though you've had all these things going on, because definitely when you are busy, and this is why I'm, doing what I do, I suppose, wholesale is one of those things that becomes an afterthought, and it's actually something that can make a huge difference in your business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think once it kind of clicks with you what an important cog of your business it is. But that said, my to-do list has said stockist hit list. It's what I call it. It has been on my list like for weeks, and it kept getting moved. So it's taken me a while to actually sit down and do it. But it is definitely a really worthwhile exercise. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that especially now when we're coming up to, a new season, it's even more important. So we obviously have times in the year where it's not so important, like December.
And also, what's the harm in doing it? So, it's another email in their inbox. If they're not interested, they're not interested. And
but you're helping them find you, and then you're helping them at the same time find Stand 12, I suppose. So it's twofold for you.
Yeah. Although I haven't really been, when I've been contacting as Sophie Home, I haven't added that in.
Maybe you should.
I know. Well, my husband said yesterday, but it feels a bit pushy.
No, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it to help them with their buying for autumn.
It's true, but they will get their postcards in the post that will tell them all about the platform.
But that's not personal. You contacting them is personal.
Well, I have...
Sorry, I don't want to put pressure on you, but
I need you to be my mentor as well. I really do, because you're right. I mean, I did tell them about it in my newsletter. So
but how many people do you think open your newsletter versus your personal note from you?
Point taken. So all the stockists then that haven't replied to me, I'll send them another email going, oh, by the way, if you don't like my stuff.
Well, you already spent the time finding their details and
Oh, Therese, you're so right. All right. Well, when I do my next reach out, I will. I've been doing this for a long time, but still, it's sometimes just having confidence. Actually,
yeah.
To be hi. I'm here. Yeah, working on that, definitely. But I take it on board.
So thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you kind of tell us quickly, obviously, where people can find you, both Sophie Home and Standwell, and also if a brand or a shop is interested in getting involved with Standwell, how they go about that?
Yeah, sure. So Sophie Home is sophiehome.com. And my Instagram is at @SophieHome_London, because I think I do own at Sophie Home, but I locked myself out and never got back in. And Stand12 is nice and simple. That's stand12.com and it's at stand12. So yeah, we are totally open for retailers and brands to apply to join us. So for retailers to register as a platform as well with the retailers, we are as interested in new startup retailers as well as existing ones as well. All of our wholesalers so they can choose to accept or not accept an order. So if they don't feel comfortable with someone who's been in touch, but they have to have a website or an Instagram presence or a shop. So we have to know that they are legit. So yeah, they can choose whether they complete the order or not. And also so that we avoid duplication as well. So we don't have somebody supplying two retailers in the same postcode and all. And then wholesalers, yeah, we're looking for just good commercial contemporary design. We'd love anybody who is interested in wholesaling to get in touch. And if we feel that you're suitable for the site, then we'll get you on as quickly as possible. If you're not suitable for the site, we will let you know why. And also, we're really happy to talk to somebody who would like a little bit of guidance on how they could get their business ready to be on the site.
What kind of criteria is there? Like, do you check, what do you look for?
Well, the first thing I do is look at their website. And what I am looking for is product that I can see in a shop, that I know it's going to look good in a shop, and I know that customers are going to buy it. So it has to be commercial in that aspect. It doesn't have to be my taste, but it does have to be a sort of certain aesthetic, and that's quite a gut feel as well. And then we're looking for good photography as well. So we really want everything to look really crisp and sharp on the site. So that's pretty important. So we might have somebody who's got fantastic product, but we might ask them to resubmit some maybe e-commerce shots or some less fussy lifestyle shots, that kind of thing. Because it's going to become quite a full platform, and we want to keep it as uncluttered as possible so that it's really nice and easy to
I think it's important online, otherwise you feel overwhelmed as a buyer as well.
Totally. And you don't need to have ever wholesale before either. So if you're totally new to it, for us that's absolutely fine. And I'm here, Jess is here, Keisha is here, for anybody to be able to just ask questions and so that they feel prepared.
And do you have any, do you check if they are, do you have any qualifying questions for if they're ready, in terms of I guess pricing or supply?
So when they fill in their onboarding form, it will become apparent very quickly if somebody understands that form or don't understand that form. And and that they're things that we can really help with. If they don't understand part of it, we can explain. So in answer to your question, no, not really. But if they were to send me all their prices and they really didn't look right, I would be in touch and say, let's talk about them. Or if I feel that their minimum order quantity is prohibitive, if it's going to stop them. And actually there's somebody that I need to have that conversation with, because when I look at the average value of her product and the minimum order quantity she's asking for, I think she's going to really, really increase her chances by dropping her minimum order quantity. Which is something I think you have advised as well recently, and I would totally agree that that's really important right now as well, to really help out retailers and ourselves, to be a little bit flexible on things like minimum.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's also really important not to rely solely on volume when you set your pricing and your margins, because we have to have that flexibility for when things happen and you need to be a bit more helpful
Totally. And it's all paid marketing. So get it out there. So yeah, we don't really run checks on people, but we definitely look out for sort of glaring errors, and we're totally here to support, but to be inclusive as well, if the product is right.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like I could chat with you about wholesale for hours.
Literally, yes. I feel the same, but I don't know if anyone else would want to listen to it.
Could go on and on and on. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sophie, and thank you so much to those of you who are listening. I really appreciate that you are tuning in. Season 3 will be coming to an end soon. There's still a few more episodes to go, and then we will take a short break and we will be back in October. I'd love to hear who you want to hear from in Season 4, as I'm inviting guests at the moment. So if you have someone that you think would be great guests for the podcast, please do get in touch. And I also love hearing where you are tuning in, so please tag me on Instagram. I'm small_business_collaborative, and show me where you are listening. Of course, as a small business, it's also really important to get ratings and reviews. So if you have a moment, please head over to iTunes or Apple Podcast and leave us a review, as it really helps others discover the podcast too. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you have a lovely week.